Riders of Icarus is Nexon's big free-to-play MMO, and it has a lot behind it, including CryEngine and things like that. If you don't know who Nexon is, then they're actually the people that make Mabinogi, which is like a little anime RPG kind of game. They also make Maple Story, I believe, or they don't make it, but they publish Maple Story rather. They also do like Dirty Bomb, Ghost in the Shell, the kind of shooter one. They do Lawbreakers, they're publishing as well. So they're basically a big wheelhouse, and they do a lot of different games, including Vindictus, which I played a lot. The reason I picked Riders of Icarus though is it's supposed to be a certain hook that makes the game a little different than anything else you've played before. Unlike most games you have to earn up to the point where you're able to get the mounts, the whole goal of the game is to get mounts. So it's kind of like a Pokemon type game. When you start off, you make your character, of course, and you just go through, and I just threw together someone I thought was pretty decent looking. And after I did all that, I named myself, and actually I had a little issue logging in, so I had to restart the game, get everything fixed up, and go into the server that's correct. Once you start up, there's a whole story thing with what looked like fully voice-acted cutscenes, or I guess in-game scenes, whatever you want to call it, to the point where you're helping rescue a princess, it looks like, and you are part of the royal guard, but you got your ass kicked. After, of course, the beginning tutorial, like, hey, go interact with this by pressing F, which, by the way, I absolutely hate when you have to do this. If you're walking up to, say, a bunch of weapons on a wall, and you grab one, and it takes you 10 seconds to pick up a weapon, it doesn't make any sense. Like, it's a 2-second thing. Why am I taking 10 seconds to watch a queue go by to grab a weapon? Anyway, that aside, it continues the basic tropes of current modern MMOs where you basically sit around to interact by holding F, you do different things like that, and for the most part, as I began my journey through Riders of Icarus, it wasn't anything groundbreaking. The graphics were good, CryEngine 3 I think is what it runs, and some of the cutscenes really impressed me on even a storytelling and technical level. What was surprising though is they left this little escape button up top, so the whole time you watch this cutscene there's a, hey, you want to skip this? Which is weird because this is the first time I've seen it. I know it's an MMO, I know you're supposed to be more UI focused, but I like to be immersed in my stories. There's a certain game immersion you want, and for some reason they decided Riders of Icarus, they don't really care about your immersion, so they take it away immediately by giving you the escape option. After you get through all the beginning, you get through all the tutorials, you learn to tab shift and tab target and all these things that people already know if you played an MMO before, you reach a point where you have to escape the whole prison and they give you a Pegasus. Or rather, they let you borrow a Pegasus for a little bit, and that, I think, is where I began to understand and see the vision that Nexon has for this game, as developers have for Riders of Icarus. When I hopped on the bird for the first time, I didn't really understand it, and it did feel like I was actually hopping on a bird, an animal, for the first time and trying to learn how to fly it. Of course, I just double tapped spacebar and took off, and it was easy, it was good. You can dash in the air, you can fly faster, you can glide, is what they called it. And it's nothing special still. There's nothing unique about that, because mounts are in other games, and actually, for a while in my first, I think this is about my hour and a half in, I didn't really feel, again, there wasn't much differentiating this game from other games. As I landed, of course, the quest system began. So you talk to one guy for the main quest, go find 10 quests in the same area you're already in, you go do all 10 quests, they're all streamlined, you come back, you turn them in, you level up twice, you go to the next guy who's down the street, you do all the quests in that area, you keep going, and it's something that I kind of hate because storytelling can be so good in these games, but they always have to add that 50,000 quests to actually level up. You can't just fight mobs, you can't just go out and do whatever you want. I mean, you can, but if you want to level up, you have to do these quests. You have to progress through the areas to get the better quest, and to do that, you have to be higher level from doing all the quests per area, which, again, this is an MMO. I understand, but if you're trying to do something different, there are far better ways to get the same thing accomplished without sacrificing gameplay, because as much as I like MMOs, the one thing I've always hated is quest-based leveling. Final Fantasy XI actually did a really good job of you have to go do mobs. There was a problem with it though, because you had to party for 10-15 hours to actually level up all the way, but it was more entertaining because you got to meet people, you got to learn, you get to experience people, and you actually got to learn how to play the game the way it's supposed to be played. Riders of Icarus does a good job of doing all this, but it also hits the points where you're afraid of messing things up. Like, you're afraid of, oh, if I didn't get all the quests in this area, I'm not going to be high enough level for the next area or the area after that, and that's something that slows down game flow, and it hurts the game, I believe, in the end. Combat is actually pretty unique, and I did pick the hardest class in the game, the Wizard. The Wizard himself is not anything super special or anything like that, but he's basically a black mage from 14, and when I noticed that, I began to notice a lot of similarities from Final Fantasy XIV. If you're not familiar with Square Enix's current MMO offering, it actually is one of the top MMOs at the moment. There's like WoW's the paid, of course, and there's some free-to-plays, then there's 14, which is one of the most polished visually and story-wise games out there. There are a lot of similarities though, like they even have the recall points, you know, the little teleport things. They have the skills that stack on top of each other and combo and give you different effects, and even down to using fire over ice while fighting gives you different benefits, which if you ever played 14 is exactly how the Black Mage works. I mean, it's almost uncanny how many similarities there are between the two. Even the little quest markers, the gold they use is exactly the gold they use in 14, and it's crazy. Now, the whole hook of the game. This is what matters. Taming. Taming is actually really well done and really fun. What you do is you have to sneak up on an unsuspecting animal that has a little mark over his head, like has a little claw or something over his head. You sneak up on him, you jump on his back, and then you begin a little mini game to tame him. At first I thought this was just a hokey kind of whatever thing, and then I started seeing more and more animals you can tame, including bosses, elites, like hardcore enemies, and I was like, okay, I became a taming addict. Like, I literally began just grabbing every single thing I could. There was this little wolf that I saw, and I tried to tame him like 4 times and I couldn't. And later on I found a bigger wolf, I got that one, and the boss version of him as well. And then after a while, you know, you bump into like a little kangaroo baby, and of course I grabbed him, and it just became a whole thing. And Riders of Icarus is a game that's based around this system, and after you get a mount, of course, you can ride them. You can, if they're flying, they fly through the air, they run a little faster. They have their own skills as well, which each meld into each other and actually help boost your power, including like EP up, HP up, regen rate, attack speed, different things like that, so it synergizes with you, depending on how you want to play. What's beyond that, even if you have a mount, you can't do certain moves, so you're able to turn these mounts into pets and keep their bonuses while they follow you, and you get a really cute little wallaby Joey guy chasing you around, which made the game a little bit more unique after a while. Again, pets aren't unique, mounts aren't unique, but a game that focuses on you capturing mounts, taming pets, actually puts us a little more above the edge. With the combat being decent, the story being decent, the graphics being decent, Riders of Icarus, again, I have to say, is nothing special, but I think this one taming aspect, the whole idea of getting my little baby boar, if I want to follow me around, really does appeal to the collector and the Pokemon master side of me, as well as the MMO addict who loves to fly around on badass looking things. Hopefully when it comes out, Riders of Icarus find its own identity, but until then, a Final Fantasy XIV clone with a bit more emphasis on mounts and pets isn't the worst thing in the world.